Hello and welcome. My name is Madeline Longoria Garcia, and these are our other stories. Joining us today is Marisa Ritzy Estrada Rivera, also known to me and introduced to me first as Ritzy Periwinkle. Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining. Ritzy, I've known you, and I'm going to call you Ritzy. This is just how I know you.
Yeah, totally.
For several years now. And we've had these conversations about the way that our lives have evolved. And I love that you have kind of simplified the way that you describe yourself with this one word of changemaker. Ritzy P is changemaker. And I love that because you do so much and you have done so much and you are such a creative person. How did you get to that point of defining changemaker yourself as that?
I think it's the past couple of years. I think since the time that we've met, because we were in different, spaces with wonderful Wendy Amara and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, like you mentioned, I do so many different things, and I always thought of it as master of none in a little bit. Like I've accomplished all these awesome things, but like I don't stay in a lane, and I thought it was where I wasn't committing to something, but I realized, and I think my son helped me out with this as well. He was like, since he's known me and since he's been of age where he understands what's happening, he said to me, how do you get into a brand new industry and you're already with the top people and doing all these things? And I was like, I don't know. I go, but if I think about it, that's what happened to me in anything that I do. I just immerse myself. And so I used to think of master of none, and I can't remember the full thing. I just learned maybe a month ago what that whole thing is. Basically saying like master of none, but it's awesome and even better that you know so many things, right? So the through line is I've always been an advocate for our communities. Whatever I do, representation, I want to be the first. If I'm going to be the first, I don't want to be the only and the last. I want to bring people up. So then I was like, oh, in every industry, I was in the music industry, art industry, now emerging tech. Oh, I just want to impact. Impact is the word that I always want to bring, to lead, to facilitate in community, for community. And then I was like, oh, I saw the word change maker and I was like, that's what it is. And I think for a long time, going back to even calling myself an artist, I wouldn't do that. I felt like you had to be a certain type of thing and do certain type of art and be in certain type of spaces to, have the privilege of naming yourself artist. And then people are like, no, you are an artist. And then I started showing all over the world and I was like, oh, and I started seeing how powerful words were, right?
Yeah.
But also when you reclaim them or you claim them. And I was like, oh, change maker. Simple. I'm stepping in. I'm taking ownership and agency and being like, this is exactly what I do. And it sparks conversation because like, what do you mean by that? Or what are you doing? Or what are you currently working on? I was just like, change maker. And then when people hear, like I was telling you, I was a guest on another podcast and he was naming all of the things that I've done pretty much my entire, and I was like, whoa. I was like, whoa, I don't hear that. I forget.
Yeah. And consecutively, especially too.
Consecutively, I've been on this earth for over half a century. That's a long time in the memory brain, kids. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I was just like, oh, no. If I'm never going to claim it, when am I going to claim it? So it's been the past couple of years where I'm just like, oh, break it down 2 words, change maker.
Yeah. I love that. And I think, and I can relate to so much of what you shared too, of like feeling like this master of none. I definitely relate to that of like, I've done, and I say to people like, I've done a little bit of a lot of things, and it's like, how do I've gone through that process too, being like, oh, but you never like fully dove into one thing maybe, or like chose that one path. and really followed it for extended periods of time. And it's it's something that I've been like, ooh, was that the wrong decision? You know? But then, as you said, and the whole phrase, which I also cannot remember, but like realizing what the whole phrase is saying is like, oh, that's actually a good thing. You
Yeah. I'm
know,
going to look it
it's,
up if you don't mind.
yeah, great. Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. And I
Because I
think,
was just like, yeah,
mhm,
go ahead.
yeah, well, and I was just like, it's just having known you for what, 4 years now? I
Has it
think
been?
like four,
Yeah,
I think it has been because
probably.
2021, I think, is when we started. And I am going to give Wendy Amata a shout out here.
Yes.
She's an
She brought us
amazing human
together.
being. Yeah.
Hmm.
And she is the person who brought us together, along with so many other amazing women who we are still in contact with. And it just, when we first met to who you are today, also, and I mean, same thing with me. Holy shit, so much has changed in our lives.
So much. So much.
So much. And yeah, did you get the quote though?
Yes, yes. The full phrase is a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yeah. And it's like that. Why did society decide to just like forget the second half of that phrase? Like, what? It's actually, it's such a great thing. And I've always thought about that too when I would reflect on the things that I've done. I'm like, but it's so cool, all the stuff I've done. And like, doesn't this make me a really well rounded human being? But the messaging
Yes.
from everywhere else is like, but you're not an expert in, anything, which I also have an issue with because I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't
There's
know.
nobody's an expert on
I know
anything. In
exactly. That's the
anything.
thing. And I'm like, anybody who like markets themselves as an expert, I'm like, I don't know. I question you actually if you're
Yeah.
saying that.
If you're using that word to describe yourself, and I hate when I go to conferences, I'm a speaker, and they're like, oh, the experts. And I was like, no, nobody's an expert. Even if you have a PhD in such and such, such, you're still not an expert. You might have spent a grip of time and gotten a degree, but you're still not an expert. We're
Yeah.
learning till we die. Students till we die.
100%.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Students till we die. And I feel like you and I, do we figure out what your human design? That's a whole nother situation. But,
Oh my gosh.
you know, I, I'm just, I'm just like interest led. I'm
Yeah.
interest led. Like
Yeah.
I'm interested in so many different things. I can do a bunch of things at a super high level, and I know that now. And it's just like, okay, where are we going here? This is what I want to do. This is the industry I want to be in, or this is what happened. And I just did I did a post, or I'm about to do a post on LinkedIn where, because our paths have been nonlinear, we've
Mm-hmm.
collected so much more data than the average person, and so many
Mm-hmm.
more solutions to problems that, I've been in all these industries, same people, same problems, same BS,
Yeah. Oh
just
yeah.
another industry. You've seen
Yeah.
the same thing. So it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm seeing the lines, I'm connecting the dots. And so I'm better as a consultant. I'm that much more, that's more, experienced with so many different industries at a high level. And I'll be like, yep, got it.
Yeah.
Understood that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
For
So,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah. And I just relate to that so much, and these non-linear paths that we take throughout our lives. Like that is, I feel like it adds a little bit more depth and perspective. And like you said, being able to identify like, oh, it's the same shit playing out kind of everywhere. And because we see that, we understand how to problem solve, troubleshoot, get things
right.
done,
Yeah.
because we realize we're working within the same dynamics and with the same personalities and the same kind of like power structures, right? And again, all
Also,
that to
is it because
say,
we're on
yeah.
the spectrum as well? Is it because we're ADHD as well? And we have, the high level skills of pattern recognition? That could also be part of
Oh
it.
my God. I know. And I just like, okay, so my husband has been like, you're ADHD. I'm like, no, I'm not. And he's like, okay, okay. And I was speaking to somebody who has been diagnosed ADHD officially. And I was like, yeah, I don't do all that shit, you know? And then my husband is like, there are degrees to this. There are
Yeah,
degrees
it's
to
a
this. I'm like,
spectrum.
okay. I'm like, oh,
TikTok
okay.
has helped me realize. I've been telling my husband and my son, I was like, you guys are on the spectrum. Please believe it. Da 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 da. And then all these years being on TikTok and how women, we mask, we're better at
Yeah.
masking. And then they're like, if you do this, you're probably, and I was like, I was like,
Yeah.
that is all me. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And then, yeah, it totally makes sense. Here we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. And again, like being able, and I think there is a shift in the narrative, right? Of like seeing that as a, this is the word that's just coming to mind, but seeing that as a superpower versus a
Oh, yeah.
hindrance, you
Oh,
know?
yeah. Yeah.
And
It made sense the other day when they were saying that regular what are they called,
neurotypical.
right? That they don't think that doesn't they don't work in that way, they don't think in that way. And I was like, oh, no wonder I always get frustrated. Like, this is common sense, and to them
Yeah.
it's not common sense. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what
Yeah.
makes sense now.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I think I need to do like a little bit more reading and accepting and like seeing all of that. But yeah, that's really funny that you bring that up because I'm like, it's something that I've been like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And he's just here side eyeing me, like, okay, yeah, sure. Keep telling yourself that.
Right? Yeah. Hilarious.
To answer the human design thing, I was like, oh, yeah, what? I
Yeah.
can
Oh,
never
yeah.
remember it. I'm a 5-1 generator. I don't know enough about it. I've like read a little bit, but also it's so hard to grasp all of the information.
Right.
Um, yeah, so I've learned like a couple little things here and there, but I don't really know what that means. One day I will, sit down with somebody who specializes in human design and have the
Yes.
conversation and learn more. But yeah, that's me.
I think like knowing you for this long, I think knowing that we're, on the spectrum, we're, neural spicy, as people like to call us, and how we've been in so many different industries and high level. Like, you're not just dabbling here. I mean, you were like, owner and you know what I mean, of a company and
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is what we're talking about with dabbling. We're like
Yeah.
infiltrating, taking over in leadership
Yeah.
positions. That's not something that learning. It's been a year. In June, it was a year that I learned what even it was and what I was. And it made that, and being ADHD, and, I was gifted and stuff, but I didn't know how they connected.
Mm-hmm.
It makes my life so much more sense, where to the point where I'm trying to build this next thing that I'm building, this next iteration of my business,
Mm-hmm.
in that, with that
Mm-hmm.
in mind, my rest cycles, my creative cycles. And when I found out what I am, I'm a 2-5 manifester. You initiate. That's why I like, let me go
Mm-hmm.
over here. Let me go over here. Let me initiate. Let me go over here.
Yeah.
Let me initiate. I don't like to do the little, I like to initiate and keep it moving, So I was like, oh, that makes all the sense. So, yeah.
And again, in these 4 years, I have seen all of these changes of focus and direction, and you jumping straight into these spaces that are just like they're new to you, but you just learn it so quickly and you meet the right people, you know how to do this, and it's just like, damn, that's so cool to watch and happen and like see
Thanks.
happen. And with that, you're still, you have a kid, and I'm like, damn, and you're still taking care of family and doing all of this stuff. Like, it's so, yeah, I see you as somebody, as like a guiding force in some way, where it's like the shit you're doing and how you're doing it and the way that you show up in these spaces is something that I think is a great model for a lot of people,
Oh, thank you.
including myself, right? Like, I am on this journey of very nonlinear, going all over the place. Sometimes it feels like there is zero direction. And then I'm like, okay, here's Ritzy who's done the same shit. And like, look at what she's been able to accomplish. And I love being around people like this, where it's like, cool, this is totally normal and it is doable and you can create something impactful
Yeah.
out of this.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I think thank you so much again for saying that. And I feel like the people that we surround ourselves with, the people that are in our, our tribe and our circles, it's people like you that you're not, you want to make a living, you want to create a life, but you're always thinking about outside of yourself. You're thinking about community
Yeah.
and you're thinking about impact, right? And I feel like that's why we attract each other, because it's like, how do we continue to evolve and grow and what's sustainable, but not lose sight of I'm here also to help, to be the voice of the
Mm-hmm.
voiceless, to make impact. So there's always that. And I think that's a struggle that we have as women of color, as Latinas, first, second gen, however it is, because I know you have
Mm-hmm.
different generations that
Mm-hmm.
on different sides, but it still remains true. And it's while that's happening, what does our activism look like?
Mm-hmm.
What is our, how can we contribute still and still align? Are- it- it's that struggle of like, do I have to play certain games for, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In this
Oh,
capitalistic
100%.
society, it's just like so many different things. And it's like, are we coming from a scarcity mindset? Are we coming like
Yeah.
all these different things come into play? And it's, I really appreciate what you said about me, but it's a practice. Like it's a
Yeah.
practice. It's a constant practice. We all have our, rough days, bad days, and it's just, I think the key and what's been very important for me is the healing element, community element, and staying in conversation with amazing folks like yourself to bounce ideas off, to be able to vent in a
Mm-hmm.
productive way. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Where it's
Mm-hmm.
not just talking shit it's just like, listen, this is what's happening to me. Have you been through a similar experience? Or, all those things.
Yeah.
It's been, it's been so valuable to have women of color, Latinas in all of these different circles that can relate to so many different things in my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that having that community to be in conversation with is so important for, I mean, all of the hard times, all of the transitions, all of,
Yeah.
whatever, because
Yeah.
it keeps us kind of grounded and connected, and it also keeps us accountable, especially if they are people who have, been in your life for an extended period of time, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's been a whole journey the last several years. I mean, my whole life, but like specifically even the last several years, just talking about the time that we've known each other. And I forgot what I was going to say to that too. There was like a whole other thought that came to mind that I can't remember at all. So I don't know. Maybe is that a symptom of the ADHD brain too? But yeah, I mean, I guess what I was going to say is the conversations that you and I have had, but also with the other women in our life who we met at the same time, it's always been this like recentering opportunity when we
Yeah.
get together.
Yes.
And I, you and I, we've never met in person, you know? No, we've never met
But
in real life.
because you weren't able to come to the retreats and stuff.
Yeah. And the
What?
one retreat I went to, you didn't go to.
What?
Yeah,
That's crazy, Doc.
I know.
Wow.
So I've
But I
met
feel like
Yvonne
I've
in real life.
known
I
you.
know. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Like, I
100%.
feel like I've
Yeah.
met you in person, but
Yeah.
wow. Wow. Hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I met Yvonne, I met Monica, and Jessica. But yeah, it's just like, oh yeah, Ritzy, we haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. That's
What? Oh,
wild.
we got to change that. We got to
I
change
know.
that. Oh my
I know.
God. Wow.
But it's like this is possible. It's possible to have these relationships with people if even through Zoom calls and WhatsApp messages and all of these ways that we
Right.
have communicated. if we're also allowing ourselves to show up authentically and connect with folks, and if we like just find the right people to vibe with, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's something that I did at the beginning of this year. This is what I was coming to earlier that I totally forgot. That I did this whole deep dive process of what are your personal values
Mm.
and identifying those, and in doing this like multi-page journaling exercise of identifying that, because it was like, what do I want to quote unquote do next? You know, where do I go? How do I find the right places for myself, especially in this huge transition where I moved, and like restarting in a way. And it is hard to stick by those values sometimes because there are opportunities that come up that you're like, damn, okay, I could make a bunch of money doing that thing. But having this thing to kind of compare against, where, okay, but what's the goal? If the goal is to have impact and to work within the communities and to be an advocate and step into spaces where we are uplifting others, does that kind of work align with that? No, it's extractive. It's all about capitalism. It's
Extractive.
all
Right.
about, you
Right.
know, increasing profits, making as much as you can with as little, giving back as little as possible. It's like, no, that doesn't align.
Right.
Okay. And it can be hard. You know, you said that, like, it's hard to be like, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
But having those, yeah, like guiding principles for yourself as a person, and trying to take those with you in everything you do, it's challenging. And at the end of the day, you're staying true to yourself though by doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you said about the principles, your guiding principles, then you also ideally would want to surround yourself with people that have similar, maybe
Right.
not 100%, but like the core,
Yeah.
you know, they say you are what you eat, and I always say you are who you hang with, and you want to have people that are going to cheer you on, but I also want people that are going to keep it real with me. Like, I don't want you to say that everything I do is amazing. If I'm showing you something for feedback, I trust you,
Yeah.
and there's certain things I'm going to come to certain people for because that's in their wheelhouse.
Of course.
And I want to hear how I can always improve. Do you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I think it's important. Like in high school, we were the floaters. My friend and I, it was just us
Mm-hmm.
two, but we would float to the different people because I was into so many different things, which should have gave me an inkling of how my life was going to be. And that's how my groups are. I have so many, like, and you would never think they would mesh, And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like having those people to, there's some people I want to be lifted up because they're always going to have my back and think everything I do is amazing. I'm going to need that today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to need, to tap into my streets,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a part of me too. That never goes away. Some people might say that, but for me, it never goes away. I don't want it to go away. Then I talk to, my homeboys that I talk to every day, they're, graffiti writers and stuff. And it's just like, I was just thinking about that today because I was talking to one of them. He's actually in Hawaii, for Worldwide Walls. And I was just thinking, I was
Nice.
like, look, I was like, here I am, 51 years old, still have that. I will
Yeah.
always have that. But then I can go, speak at a crazy conference and be professional. I think that's
Yeah.
another superpower that we have, is that code switching ability. We're still
100%.
authentic. I'm still 100% me, but I know I got to change how I communicate to get the message across to those that need to, because I'm not representing the entire, Mexican, Latino group, right? But I have an opportunity. I don't know if I'm going to be back in these 100% majority white tech spaces. So I want to go in and I want to tell you what I'm going to tell you, sprinkle some, some stats because you guys like stats. everyone likes stats and how it impacts your bottom line, but I'm going to sneak in
Yeah.
the stuff that's real important and how you need to include us and we need to be part of the
Mm-hmm.
conversation and we need to be at the table, like all those things. And so, yeah, it's evolving and having the right people around you and knowing also, I think this is a word that we've all been talking about in all these spaces, is that discernment, right?
Mm,
Discernment. It's just like, okay, that person's time is done in my life.
yeah.
That job is done. That project is done. That client is done. We'll
Yeah.
no longer be dealing with that.
Yeah. That's such God, and I feel like I'm learning that. I'm still learning that, but I'm at the point in my life where it's like, no, this is what you're actually going to be working on and doing is being very discerning in relationships, spaces, things on your things that you want to do, quote unquote, like all
Right.
of that. What is actually worth my energy and what's also like lifting that energy versus
Yeah.
getting me to a place where I am feeling dimmed or, yeah, down. And this is, I mean, I was actually thinking about this earlier this week. I'm like, this thing happened, and I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good. Like, I want to know what happened and like have this conversation and reach out and do all of this stuff. And I was like, you know what? It's just not going to happen anymore. And that's
Yeah.
fine.
And
And
that's okay.
like getting to that place of being able to let go and then also like just face the facts and real have the realization of like that season has ended and
Yeah.
it's okay and that's good.
Yeah. Having the car, I think the world, but especially the United States, we're in this place that we're in
Mm-hmm.
because we don't want to have those hard conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And it served me so well to have the hard conversations because those are the growth opportunities. And for me, it's still a practice, but my mom passed away when I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
That was the wake up call that I got as a gift early in life to be like, time waits for nobody. Nothing's
Yeah.
guaranteed. My energy is the most valuable asset that I have. So where am
Yeah.
I going to put it?
Yeah.
Post the healing of that, it was just like, nope. Like discernment was happening already. I was kind of already that kid, that person. But when that happened, I was like, oh, even more so. I was just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, it's not worth my energy. Oh, let me do all these weird, scary things because who's to say, I saw a
Yeah.
TikTok the other day was like, you think you can hurt me? You can't hurt me. My mom died already. Like, and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
hell yeah, that was like such a good reminder. It's been 30 years already, but it's just like, oh yeah, I've gone through some of the hardest things in life. Me being afraid to show up on a video that I post myself, that's scary. That's hard because I care about what some people that I don't even know that don't even, matter to my bottom line and to my happiness.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's the kind of 100% rough, rugged, and raw reminder that I needed. And
Yeah.
TikTok knew it. I mean,
TikTok.
TikTok knew it.
It's so I also like love how much you're just like embracing TikTok. Let's do it. This is where all the Gen Z and I guess like Gen Alpha and some millennials are, but I feel like there are actually a lot of millennials who hate TikTok. But you
Yeah.
have just like embraced it. I'm like,
There's
shit,
so
man.
so many Gen X. I've learned so much. Like my algorithm is on point. I've learned so many amazing things about myself, stuff for the kitchen, like products. Like it's been such a resource. And I also keep
Yeah.
abreast on stuff. So my son will say something and I'll be able to sing along and say it too or whatever. And it just keeps I'm gonna be the
Yeah.
90-year-old that's up on the times as much as possible. But yeah, TikTok, man. Yeah. You could say a lot of different things.
Sure.
Sure, they are
Sure.
true. They are true. But I've learned a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, and I think I mean I do not use TikTok that often. I'm not on there that often, but so I need to like feed my algorithm the things that I
Yeah,
actually want to
quality.
be.
Yeah, quality
Yeah,
stuff. Yes.
cuz you get some weird stuff on there too. that just like
You
pops
do.
up randomly. And
You
so,
do.
yeah.
But
And I think
once you
that's what
get
like
it
turns me
down,
off initially. And I'm like, I
yeah.
don't want to, what am I doing? This is a
Yeah.
weird ass like
No.
hole I just went through.
Yeah, but once you get it down, you're like, oh, this is qual. Like I have quality people, like academics
Yeah.
and activists and creators and, disruptors and da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then I have this one that is comidas chiquitas, and it's
Mm.
miniatures, little miniature kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
but it's in Mexico. And it boggles my mind. And they make miniature pozole. And I'm just like, where do you get those little onions? Where do you get those itty bitty? It's like,
Yeah.
so like stuff like that is like, oh, a nice brain, like a brain,
Yeah.
palate cleanser. But I'm just like, what is happening right now? But I love it.
That's so funny. Yes, I love it. I love the way that you use TikTok and encourage other people to get on there too. And I got to figure out I got to like yeah, create the algorithm for myself to
Yes.
give me the right
Yes.
things. So, okay, I'll spend some more time on TikTok.
And also there's a tab. A lot of people don't know. There's a tab if you scroll over at the top, it's like for you. So you get random and then the people you
Yeah.
follow. But if you scroll past the TikTok shop all the way to the left, there's a STEM one and it's just STEM. And I follow neuroscience,
That's
a person
cool.
of color, boom, follow them. Like, so that's great too. So a lot of people don't know it
That's
because it's all the
cool.
way to the
Okay.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I got to explore a little bit more. Thank you. One thing that I wanted to chat with you about, because you've, again, talking about like so much has changed in the last 4 years. I know you as Ritzy Periwinkle. That's how you are in my phone. That's how, like, Ritzy P, Ritzy, that's who you always will be to me. And you have had this whole personal evolution also with your name. And also, I mean, where Ritzy Periwinkle even came from. I know the story behind that because I've listened to your podcast and it being this artist story kind of a thing, this creative story and the origin of that. And again, going to all of the different people and spaces that you've been connected with throughout the years. And can you maybe give us a little background on Ritzy Periwinkle, and then also this evolution of Marisa Ritzy Estrada Rivera?
Yeah. So the short version, and you said it when we were before we started recording, you were saying my name Maritza, and it's supposed to be
Yeah.
Maritza. But, I was born in the 70s and nobody was there when it was time to write my name down on the birth certificate and on the official documents. This is a story
Mm.
that I was told. So they put down Marisa, one S, make sure it's just one S. But as I grew up, I was given gifts with Maritza. This is your name. This was supposed to
Mm.
be your real name. Maritza. Maritza have ornaments and, all kinds of things that was given to me by my mom and my tia. That's your name. Maritza, Maritza. Okay. But it's not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, legally.
But it's not. Legally, it is not.
Mm-hmm.
So then fast forward hip hop. And then I'm in junior high, which is middle school now the kids now. Then I was a tagger and I was like, what am I going to tag? I was like, oh, Ritz, let me honor the missing part of my name. So then it
Mm.
was Ritz. And then fast forward to college, no one was really using Ritz. Like I wasn't really using it anymore, right? I wasn't a tagger anymore. But in college, my friend and I, we bonded over hip hop. And then we started a little crew and he would call me Ritz. And we were in this little crew. And then fast forward, I go into the music industry and we were just playing around. It was a time when really cool streetwear everyone had like a t-shirt line, but it was,
Mm-hmm.
very curated, very obscure design. Only the cool people knew. And I was like, oh, I would love to have a t-shirt brand. Someone's like, what would you call it? I was like, oh, Ritzy. They're like, but what's the full thing? And I was like, literally I was the creative director at in concert, marketing. And I was a buyer at the time too. And it was a bunch of different departments. It was the art department, but for all the different departments of the company. And someone was
Mm-hmm.
like, but what is the last name? I'm all, Periwinkle, because that's the color of the Crayola crayon that I always remember. Like, what is Periwinkle? It just rolled off the tongue. So Ritzy Periwinkle was that. I quit the music industry and accidentally became an artist again. I went to school for design and art, and then someone asked me to be in a show. I thought I was going to be a photographer, and they were like, "What is your moniker?" And I was like, "Oh, Ritzy Periwinkle." And then when I left the industry, my company was Ritzy Periwinkle, and it
Mm-hmm.
just stuck. So I became like an international artist, traveled the world, and my moniker was Ritzy Periwinkle. When I started my company, it was Ritzy Periwinkle, and then I didn't like my name, Marisa,
Mm,
because it wasn't what it was
right.
supposed to be, right?
Right.
Estrada, that was my biological father's last name. I don't know him. He's not in my life. Why does
Yeah.
he get to be associated with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
So subconsciously, looking back, subconsciously, I was like, let me create my own identity that I
Mm-hmm.
chose and that I picked, and it was my story. I didn't see it that way at the time, but I was like, oh, that's why I go by Ritzy. And you could tell who met me. They know me by, Marisa or Marisa or Ritzy. Um, so my name is, Marisa Estrada. And I was always thinking about changing my name and changing my name
Mm-hmm.
to my mom's maiden name, like I'm her legacy. I want her to continue to live in some way. So I never did it. And then a couple years ago, a couple years ago, 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I spoke at the United Nations. When you speak at the United Nations, you can't use a moniker. You have to use a government name. And I was like, ugh. I was like, I'm going to be speaking at the United Nations and it's going to have his last name.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was pissed. I was so upset. And my friend was like, well, no, you have to have your government. I was like, okay, all right. So I was like, oh, it's on. That's it. Like, I need to get it
I'm
changed.
changing my name. Yeah.
I'm changing my name. F this. But then a couple of years ago, I went to get my Mexican citizenship, right? And I took all my papers and I went and she was like, this is not correct. I took my passport and all the things and my birth certificate and all that. She's like, I go, what do you mean? And she said, these are two different people. She said, if you look at your birth certificate, your real name is Marisa and your middle name is Estrada and your last name is Rivera. So this entire time, my name has been what I wanted it to be
And
since birth.
and I just like, how does that happen? Like, how did it not get flagged when you got your passport? Or, I mean, specifically the passport, but like driver's license, all of this
It's
stuff.
it's
It's
wrong on my
crazy.
passport. I have my fourth
Yeah.
passport. It's wrong on my social security card. It was a whole ordeal. Just, I won't get into it, but it was like a whole ordeal to change my passport. They made the
Yeah.
mistake however many years ago. And
Right.
they're like, well, you need paperwork that shows that you've been using that name for 5 years. But the only official paperwork is the paperwork that I provided you. It was this
Yeah.
whole, I had to do all hoops to get it done. I finally got it done and I cried and bawled when I got it.
Mm, yeah.
But I was like, when I went to the Social Security office, they had to call managers and they were like, how do you have a passport? I go, I don't know, sir. I
Whoa.
don't know.
Yeah.
They're like, how do we have it wrong in our system? They're like, at one point it says that your first name was also wrong. They had you down as Maria. These were olden times, guys,
Sure. Olden
half a
times.
century ago. There's the 1900s, if you will. So yeah. So, and I was like, Wizard of Oz, Dorothy moment. Like, you could have gone home this entire time.
Yeah.
Like, this
Yeah.
was my name the entire time, but everything had to happen this way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
everything had to happen this way. I had to live 49, 50 years of my life thinking that this was my name, dealing with how else do you explain that I got 4 passports in my social, like, how do you explain
Right.
that? There's no
Yeah.
way this was supposed to happen. And for me to just be like, this was it the entire time. Like, it boggles my mind. And it reminds me of names and words and how
Mm-hmm.
powerful certain, like,
Mm-hmm.
if someone calls you something, it's one thing, but things that you own, that you reclaim, it means so much, right?
Yeah.
If you grew up and you were told that being Latino, being Mexican was less than. And so you
Yeah.
believed it. But then you become older and then you embrace it's a reclaim. All those things matter, right? The fact
Yeah.
that it took me forever to say that I was an artist. And as soon as I did, then the universe was like, here, artist, travel the world, be in all these
Yeah.
exhibits, Art Basel, da da da. Like, it's like the
Mm-hmm.
universe is just waiting for you to say yes, waiting for you to lean in. And I just think what a beautiful honoring of my mom, like to come to this and to share that story while my son is of age and he was able to experience the roller coaster of that. And now, and then I was like, okay, now do I get rid of the Estrada? Well, no, it's really been a part of my journey too.
Totally.
So let me honor it. So now, and also, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate that are watching or listening. And I think your friend, your first guest said it as well. People can't, you gave people, you like gave them a pass for not pronouncing your name correctly
Yeah.
as it should be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But F that, now it's like
Mm-hmm.
Marisa. It doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
who you are. Like before, I'd be selective. If I thought maybe you could say it, I'd say it Marisa. Like, but now
Yeah.
it's everywhere. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter what space I'm in. It's Marisa,
Yeah.
Ritzy, Estrada, Rivera. The whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's it. Because it's all
100%.
me.
Yeah. Oh my God. And I mean, not into the same extent at all or in that way at all, but I've gone through this process too of like evaluating my name and like trying to understand it more. And if that doesn't make sense to you, I'm glad you've never had to go through that thought process. But like this thing, I mean, it's our name and like it carries weight and it has meaning, and the names of
Yes.
everything in every place, like they deserve to be pronounced correctly. It deserves to be spelled correctly
Right.
and used correctly. And I I've gone through kind of a similar process too, where it was like, okay, I have these two last names. But growing up, they technically weren't both my last name. It was just
Mm,
Garcia. And
mm,
Longoria was actually part of my middle name. And I had two middle names. And my parents divorced when I was very young. And there was, as yeah, divorced people do, they're not always the healthiest of people around their children.
right. Right.
And there was this thing about our last name, me and my sister. My Garcia is my dad's last name. Longoria is my mom's last name.
Mm,
And there was this like, my dad being like, no, your last name is just Garcia. Longoria is part of your middle name. And my mom being like, no, I always wanted Longoria to be part of your last name too. And so it was like this weird, these messages from both sides. And whenever I would claim, like being told, especially as a kid, like a young kid, whenever I would say Longoria Garcia is my last name, my dad being like, that's not right. It took a long time, I think, for him to shift that perspective.
mm.
I've actually never had this conversation with him, and he listens to this podcast, so this will be
Well,
interesting.
perhaps. Hello.
And with it wasn't until I got married that I changed my last name to
Uh,
Longoria Garcia. And that, even though I had been going by that for years, just because I was
right.
like,
But
no, this is who I
officially.
am. But
Right. Right.
officially, on paper, legal documents,
Right.
that was when I finally did it. And I always think it's kind of funny of like, oh no, when I got married, yeah, I changed my last name, but it wasn't to my husband's last name. It was to just like actually fully legalize and
Yeah.
legitimize this as my last name. And it was something that was important to me because it was just like, no, I want this. Like, I want to carry on the identities and legacies of these two families that I carry with me. It is
Right.
not just one or the other. It is both of them, and it is all of the
All of
people
them.
like
Right.
who came before. And yeah, and then even just learning about my family's own like name history too, My grandfather on my dad's side, his name was Julian Leon Garcia. And I always thought Leon was just his middle name. Turns out Leon was his mom's maiden name, my great
Of
grandmother.
course.
And I'm
Of
like, oh, of
course.
course. Like,
That's how they named them.
there's,
That's how they're on the birth
yeah,
certificates. Yeah.
exactly. And
First
it's
last
like,
name, second last name.
exactly. And it's something that is, for whatever reason, that's not a practice in the United States, but it's a
Yeah.
practice in so many other countries around the world. You have two last
Yeah.
names because
Yeah.
you are identified. I mean, when we look historically, that's how you identified who you were, was your last, like your names. It was your
Right.
lineage story too.
Right.
They're so important. And they carry stories is what I always think about. Like that's what these names do. They are carrying stories, that this is why they have weight. And I don't know, I just remember when you shared that story of like finding out all your passports have been wrong your whole life. Like, what? That is an insane thing. Like, how the hell does that happen? And it is, I appreciate your perspective of like, I had to go through that. Like, I
Yeah.
had to learn that lesson and then be shown like, actually, it is the thing that you've wanted the whole time.
And imagine, because it costs like, as of today, I know because I was trying to figure out how much it costs to change your name, depending on what state you're in, it could
Mm-hmm.
come up to $500, $600 to legally change your name. And for me to go the process and be like, bitch, your name is this. Your name is already this. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and also people are like, my birth certificate is from 1974. Before I got my first passport, I had the original birth certificate. It was like taped together. No one's
Oh my
reading that.
gosh.
Who reads that? Who reads the little label of the box that your name is in?
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody does that. So that's why I had no idea. So yes,
Yeah.
you're correct. Names are powerful. I'm so happy that it's legally. My tia was like, Mija, you better go to Social Security because if you ever want to get your benefits, it's not
Oh
going to
yeah.
match. And I was like, oh, so that's the whole reason why I went there in the first place. I could, what am I going to have? I've been working for myself forever, but who's to say? But, and that's how, they were like, the guy just kept looking at me and looking at my passport. I kept saying at the Social Security, he's like, how do you have like it would be quiet and he'd be like,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
But
that
names are
is
so
just such,
powerful. Names
they
are
are
so
so
powerful.
powerful.
And that's the reason why my name was inputted incorrectly in the first place, because they didn't understand. Because when I got my mom and my biological father's birth certificate from Mexico, you could do them online. It's super easy. It costs like $10. Um, it's first last name, second last name. It's the mother
Mm-hmm.
and then the father. So that's how it's written on their paperwork. So they just inputted it. They didn't understand it. So they just put, oh, middle name, da da da. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, names can make or break you. and
Yeah.
I think about artists, actors that they change their name slightly and that's what they go by.
Yes.
But then only those in the know, only those that they trust know their actual like full-blown government name. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think they
Mm-hmm.
could be used different ways. It could be a reclaiming, it could be a protecting, but
Yeah.
yeah, I used to hate my name. Oh, and then everyone would be like, oh, is Eric Estrada your father? I'm like, no. And then I met Eric Estrada and then I got to tell him to his face. I was like, do you know how you've been a bane in my existence? He was laughing. Then we took a picture together. But
Amazing.
yeah.
I mean, that's so funny. I remember in high school people being like, are you related to Eva Longoria? And I'm like, no, no, never met her. Don't know her. I know she's on TV.
Hilarious.
But it's funny, right? Like that people make those weird jumps and connections and
Yeah.
assumptions. Yeah. And then even, yeah, like you said, the pronunciation. My name, I mean, Madeline, it's a French name too. Like it's not even connected to, my ethnicity, but it's just a name that my mom really liked, and I I really like it as well. And the amount of times that I've been called Madeline, and it's so, I have this, there's actually this person I know who I've corrected them. I'm like, it's Madeline, just like a heads up, it's Madeline, not Madeline. And this is also somebody who I really only communicate via Zoom calls. And they still fucking say Madeline like every other time. And I'm just like, yo, I've told you already. And it's just like annoying again.
Yeah.
Just again, the weight that I feel like, again, we've said names carry the weight, the importance, the power that they carry. And, that's the thing. That's been like a thorn in my side my whole life. If people are like Madeline, I'm like, oh, Madeline, and I always tell people who ask me first, they're like, is it Madeline or Madeline? I'm like, it's Madeline. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
asking. Like, I
Yeah.
appreciate just leading with that question,
Yeah.
right?
The respect. When someone doesn't take the time to spell it correctly or say it correctly, it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you're speaking volumes with that you're not even
Mm-hmm.
taking the time. It's not even a
Mm-hmm.
hard name. Like, it's not some
Mm-mm.
obscure name. It's your name is this beautiful name. Like, I don't know. But yeah, people are gonna people.
Yeah. And I think that's something specifically like living in Hawaii, names are so important there too,
Mm,
because there is this really really long tradition of your lineage is communicated through your name. People have hella long names in Hawaii, and it's amazing. And I remember one of the places I was working, there was specific communication and training for all new employees that they were like, you have to be intentional with names. You have to be
great. That's
careful.
fantastic.
Spend the energy and the time paying attention to people's names, whether they are your coworker or they're a customer. Pay attention and honor those names. And I'm like, oh, what a great message, and something that it's like everybody should have that perspective. Yeah. And they were just like, let's not shorthand these place names either. Like, name them what they are. Because again, especially in Hawaii, like that is still so present. And even here in the Northwest, like there's an island just outside of Portland. I think it's still technically in Portland, that everybody calls Savi Island, and that's like the anglicized name. That's the American name of it. And I learned the indigenous name for it, and I was like, how come nobody's calling it this?
Right.
And right now it's escaping me, which is terrible. But I think it's like Wapato Island. I'm like, it's not even that hard to say.
I know.
I'm like, so I don't really get it. So trying to have those intentional thought processes with that too, and making those decisions of learning pronunciation and origin of these things. Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah. Very.
And embracing it, right? I mean, like you said, mentioning the first guest we had on the podcast, Victoria Magana, like her last name with the Enya. That it's like she would say, "Oh no, just Magana," because people would make that assumption. I'm like,
Right.
no, use the Enya, like say it.
Yeah. It's
And that
important.
shift though in deciding like, no, I'm going to correct people. I'm going to embrace this. I'm going to use my correct name. Yeah.
It's powerful because if you let someone slide not saying it correctly, especially if they keep doing it, then you're letting people slide doing other things too. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You're just trying
Yeah.
to not rock the boat and let people be comfortable. And yeah, sorry if my name, the way I say it, the way it's spelled or pronounced makes you uncomfortable, but that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we all have those friends, especially in my time. Now I don't see it as much, which is great, but anyone that came from a Asian background, they had their real name, but then at school it was like Jennifer,
Yep. Yeah.
Ellen. And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like, but what's the real name? Give me that name,
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
just thought it was so sad, but I understand especially coming at that time, there's a lot of things that my family did, that their families did to quote unquote survive in a new
Mm-hmm.
country being immigrants. So
Mm-hmm.
I get it, I totally get that part.
I feel like it's this decision to, especially for parents back in those times too, of like, I'm going to name my kid a name that isn't going to get them noticed on
Right.
paper, for being
Under the
different.
radar. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They can blend in with this name. And
totally.
yeah, that's a whole other dynamic there. And
Yeah.
society's weird, I don't know, weird expectations, I guess, and structures and
Yeah.
all of this stuff and assumptions that people make, which is something too. I actually talk about that in the first episode of the season. Like, my name, Madeline, nobody can tell like what my ethnicity is just by my
Right.
first
By the
name.
name.
But
Right.
my freaking last name, come on, Longoria Garcia,
There's no
that gives it
way. There's
away.
no mistaking. Yeah.
No. And how I actually, because of the assumptions that people would make based off of my ethnicity, that were usually not positive
Right.
assumptions that people were making, I would like shy away from using my last name in spaces.
Ah. Yeah.
And there was a period of time where I actually went by Madeline LG, and that was it.
Ah. Right. Right.
And didn't like say my last, I mean, yeah, and it was like registrations for events, putting my name, like email signature, my name, and whatever, all of these things. It was always just LG. LG is my last name. Yeah, it was just this like attempt to, I guess, like remove the possibility for somebody assuming something about my being based off
Right.
of my name. And
Right.
so,
Yeah. And there's a time and a place where that makes sense too, because you're just like, oh, let me infiltrate. Sometimes that worked for a lot of us in our favor because we got into spaces because they thought we were white or they didn't know we were of color. And so we got in,
mm-hmm,
and then they're like, damn it, got in. But, it was a great opportunity, but
yeah.
I think there's even more power now. We live in a different world than what it was 50 years ago for me, where it's just like, no, this is my full name. You know,
Mm-hmm.
take it.
Mm-hmm.
This is it.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you say it. Like, this is it. And oh yeah, I do all those things. And this is my name. And this is my,
Mm-hmm.
my lineage. And these are my people. And so I think that's powerful. And I love people embracing their noses, and because that
I
was a big thing
know.
for me. And I'm glad I never got the surgery. And I mean, it's just,
Or even like hair,
yes.
hair.
Hair. Yeah, like there was someone recently and I was like, oh, I wish they would have kept their curly hair for this event, but it's just like so many more people are embracing it. And like my son, I tell him, I was like, do you know people spend hundreds of dollars to try to have hair like
Mm-hmm.
yours? And
Mm-hmm.
don't let people touch your hair, and, have them listen to the salon song, about hair and how, it's
Mm-hmm.
a part of you. It's your energy. Like, don't be just touchy. Like, I told them if they ask if it's okay with you, but if someone tries to touch your hair, be like, no, what?
Yeah.
Like, people literally like,
Oh,
nope.
100%. Oh, yeah, me too. As a kid, always, always as a
Yeah.
kid. Yeah.
Like, no. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So all that's changing. And I think like that's why these conversations are important, because if there's anyone that's my age, your age, even younger, older, that they haven't had the opportunity to really lean in into their full selves and embrace it because of how society has systematically made us
Mm-hmm.
feel, be
Mm-hmm.
ashamed of us and try to tell us that we are less than, that we don't amount to anything, that we aren't smart enough, not capable enough. It's just like, no, like,
Mm-hmm.
you can do all of this, change all of our names,
Yeah.
correct people, and still be
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember specifically the hair thing. There was a huge part of me growing up, maybe not a huge part, but there was a part of me growing up where I felt like my I just didn't like my curly hair because it was so different from everybody around
Mm,
me, except for
mm,
my family. My mom has super curly hair. My sister has curly hair too. Not hers are looser curls than mine, but she has curly hair. But like there was this piece of me, I think even specifically looking at like the Mexican community and other Mexican I guess images, right, of people who were known celebrities, whomever, singers. I mean, Selena, I grew up with her, and it's like they have this long, straight
great.
black hair,
Right.
and it's beautiful, or it's like super slicked back and everything. And I never had that. And I would straighten my hair all the freaking time as a kid. And I did, when I was in high school, I did a straight perm. So I had my hair permanently straightened.
Wow.
And it was wild to me too, to even, now that I reflect back on it, the way that people then would like compliment my straight hair, being like, oh my God, it's so pretty. It's so soft. It's so this. And I was like, this external messaging of like, oh, this is better than
Yeah.
my curls. Right.
Yeah. Right.
And it took me so long to re embrace my curls
Right.
and be happy with them and be just like, this is how it is. I love my hair now,
Yeah.
And then it's also kind of like this wild thing as an adult to realize so many of those Latina and like just Mexican celebrities have been fucking straightening their hair all the whole time too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you see
Because,
them like
yeah.
posting like, oh, embracing my natural hair. And you're like, are you fucking kidding me? You had curls too?
Yeah. Yeah. It's, white supremacy.
Yeah.
It runs so deep. It runs so deep in our culture where,
Mm-hmm.
I was La India because I used to be
Mm-hmm.
way darker than this. And I was like me and my abuelito were the only ones, maybe my tío too, but that was it. And everyone was all like whiter
Mm-hmm.
skin. Um, and so many things, all these messages that we're not only as someone of color, as, Latina, Latino, however you want to identify, not only were we being told via media, via
Mm-hmm.
society, but we're being told literally in our homes,
Mm-hmm.
literally from our families. So it's just like, I get it. It's tough. Like when you don't want to speak Spanish, when you don't want to embrace your last name or your
Mm-hmm.
name. And I get it. It's a journey that we all have to go through. Some of us will embrace it. Some of us won't. Some of us will take forever. Some of us will get it early, but it's tough out there in these, you know, of color streets
Yeah.
with our names and our hair texture and our skin color and our noses and
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough out there. So
Yeah.
kudos to those that, were able to make it to the other side and embrace because it's a beautiful thing. I love your
Mm-hmm.
hair. I love
Thank you.
being brown. I miss when I see
Mm-hmm.
the pictures of when I was like super duper brown. I miss
So
those
dark. Oh
cut.
my God.
Yeah, it's because
I
we're
know.
out in the streets all the time in
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
summer.
exactly.
So like missing that and just like, oh, like that color. Cause
Yeah.
what do people do? Pay a grip for herself for the tans and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Yeah, I actually I'll see photos of me. Even when I was traveling, I spent a few months traveling in Southeast Asia and just like outside a lot, riding motorcycles around, like you're just out in the sun. And I'm like, damn, I was so tan. Where's that tan? I need to do that again. I need to be like outside more. And then the same thing of like photos from childhood, the same thing of like, yeah, I was so dark. And now I want that, I want to
yeah,
embrace that. I want that again. But it is this again, all of that external messaging and
yeah,
learning how to reframe it and realize like there's nothing wrong with it,
no,
you know, at all.
no, not at all. It's a beautiful thing.
You I know I already said this earlier, but I just am always so amazed by your journey too, and like in not just the time I've known you, but everything I've learned through your podcast Folks, Ritzy has her podcast, Word to Your Mama, just hit 200 episodes. So
Thank
by the
you.
time this goes
Thank
out, that
you.
will be up and out there for everyone to listen to, which is I I love listening to your podcast because it is just you and you are bringing people on who you have experienced pieces of life with, and you're just like it's a great podcast for me to just like pop in and listen to. I'm not, trying to study anything from
Right.
it, but you
Right.
get these insights from so many people and all of these different perspectives and life experiences and the voices you bring on are just like, damn, there's some rad people out there.
Thank you. And I feel like, I've been I'm not finished. I'm listening to one of yours and same thing, I just when you told me the premise of what you wanted to do with this podcast, and I want everyone to have a podcast. I want everyone to take up space and there's no competition. I want us all to be out there and for you to have these amazing stories from your world and your
Mm-hmm.
experiences. Like you and I, as we talked about at the top of the show, we've lived so many different lives,
Yeah.
and someone's like, so many people. I was like, I know. And someone else said people would die to have access to your network. And I was like, I don't
Mm.
look at it like that. I just look at it these amazing humans that I get to call friends.
Yeah.
Um, it didn't start off that way. It was a hobby during the pandemic for my son and I to do. He's no longer a part of the show, but it was just like, oh, I don't know that I have this amazing network of people, from Academy Award winners to these dope artists to writers and activists and other change makers, and
Mm-hmm.
you get to see like the breadth of my net of people of like, oh, I hang out with some dope ass people. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That
Yeah.
contribute and do amazing things. And one thing that I always tell folks is even if they're on a press junket or something like that, if they're stopping to talk to me because I know them, then it's a whole nother experience. It's not the typical questions. We have so much
Yeah.
history. So then I can get into the nooks and crannies that maybe they would never have talked about on another show or podcast. And so it gives a little more insight and they get to relax and not be
Yeah.
like, they get
Yeah.
to relax and just be like two homies talking and
Yeah.
sharing stories and little tidbits and wisdom. And I really appreciate you've been on. Please believe it. Please share that
Mm-hmm.
episode. And it was another window of time for you too. And
Mm-hmm.
how you evolved since then. But I really appreciate you saying that. And thinking about this 200th episode, and I had all these ideas of what I was going to do. And I was like, let me just, answer some questions. Thank you for submitting a question. But also it's just
Mm-hmm.
me reflecting and thinking like, wow, just some amazing people that I have this archive
Mm-hmm.
of these stories during a window and we've gone through so much since 2020, so
Yeah.
much.
So much.
So to have those little windows, those little like time capsules, I think it's such a gift. And so, yeah, it's been a great journey to do it. I'm glad that you are having a great time. Congrats, second season.
Thank you.
And, I'm excited to see where you go and the other amazing people that you're going to have on the show. I'm just happy to be a
Thank you.
part of it.
So I've wanted to do a podcast for years. Like 7, 8 years. I don't even know at this point. And the idea for the premise has evolved over that time too. And when I got into brainstorming what this is, and what I decided to go with, it was just like looking at different podcasts that I listen to. Yours, I would say, was an inspiration for me too, and like a point of like, yeah, just having these
Thank you.
conversations with people of like, sure, we're going to talk about what you quote unquote do for work. That's going to weave into the conversation. It always will. But I also want people to come on and just like talk about all these other things because we don't we don't very often in workspaces, at networking events, on social media have these opportunities to just be like, hey, this is who I am authentically. And guess what? Here are different sides and facets of me. And I am not just this person who you see me showing up as in an office or on social media or the resume that you've read. Like, there's so much more to me. And I want to have I want us to have the opportunity to have those types of conversations more often, because I think that it gives us an opportunity to better, not just better understand each other, but just like more deeply connect with each other on a basic human level, and understanding that everybody has gone through their things. Everybody has these different parts of them that you may not know anything about. Yeah, and it was just, again, like, I appreciate the way that you run your podcast, and my hope is, and this is like, when I think about what this podcast is becoming, it is like this archive of conversations, and it is documentation for all of these people in our lives. And what a cool thing to have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a national archive in this country, but who are the people who get the opportunity to contribute to that? You know?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And, and I don't know if this has happened to you. I'm pretty sure it has. But I have had almost everyone except like one or two people in the entire 200 episodes I didn't know personally. And there's
Mm-hmm.
conversations where I've known them like
Mm-hmm.
close as hell. And we have this conversation. I'm like, what? You
Mm-hmm.
did what? You experienced what? Like, I had no idea, because even if you're that close of friends, when are you asking them what they did in such and such time? Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
come up in like a party situation, a family gathering situation. So you learn so much. You just see how people are so multidimensional. And
Mm-hmm.
also, it allows folks to show all of themselves, share
Mm-hmm.
stories, not just all the highlight reels. It's, I tried this and
Yeah.
I lost, but that made me stronger.
Mm-hmm.
That made me
Mm-hmm.
go to this route, and did it. Like, everyone had nonlinear career paths. And that's when I was like, oh, yeah, that's everybody. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
that's doing anything worth anything, it's nonlinear career paths, because we're all just figuring it out, especially if you're of color. There's
Mm-hmm.
nobody to tell us, to show us the way. Our parents, we didn't have legacy stuff where they're like, oh, yeah, do this, apply to college, this.
Right.
I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
How
Right.
did we even get to college? Like, how did
Yeah.
we even, like, there could have been way more money on the table for me. I didn't know that. If your
Yeah.
counselor at your school doesn't even believe in you, then what's happening? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we're just
Yeah.
navigating life, and you're just like, oh, let me hear this, because someone might hear this, might be listening and see themselves, might be listening,
Mm-hmm.
watching, and say, like, oh, I could do that because this person came from my hood or came from a similar background, or I was afraid of the same thing. And now I can, if it helps one person, it's worth it, do you know? And getting the feedback has been such a gift. When I get unsolicited feedback, because I'm like, who's listening to this? When
Oh,
I first
totally.
started, I was like, who? And then someone would be like, at a party or at an event, I'd be like, oh, you're a podcast. I'm like, I get a little embarrassed. I'm like, you listen? You check it out? Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And you never know. But when I get unsolicited, like a DM from someone, I have no idea who it is, and they're like, I really love, thank you for this. Da, da. I was like, I get a little teary eyed, and I'm like, thank you. Thank you so much. This made my day. You don't know how much this
Yeah.
means to me.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, because especially right now with TikTok and all the social medias, you could be listening
Yeah.
to just nothing but snippets of something. But the fact that you took the time to listen to an entire 40-minute to an hour and a half episode of someone's story, I appreciate your valuable time. Whether you're cooking, driving, running, whatever, it's still your time and energy, and it's valuable as hell. So thank you for sharing it with me, you know?
Yeah. No, I love that. And I mean, even with a few of the guests who've been on so far, it's really interesting to get some of the messages, or after we finish recording them, being like, whoa, I've never talked about that before. Or
Yes, a
like,
lot of that. Yeah.
yeah. Or people being like, okay, I think that's like the most vulnerable I've been on a public platform
Right.
about XYZ. And it's kind of like, all right, how does that feel? You know, what do you think about that? And it's when people say that to me, I'm like, wow, I am honored that you
Honored.
were that you spoke about that then, or that you shared that
Yeah.
thought process, that experience, that whatever that you don't usually share with people. Like how does this maybe make you feel a little bit more comfortable talking about it with other people? And it's a piece of you and your story that makes up who you are. And I mean, we're so afraid, I think, of external judgment. And I completely understand that. I relate to that. I feel that. But at the end of the day, what's the phrase? Like, the people who matter won't mind, and the people who mind don't matter, right? It's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah. Totally.
okay, you know, it's fine. And if, I don't know, it's just, I think that this is what makes us unique and interesting. And these are the stories that make us who we are. And I'm so grateful that people feel then safe enough to start talking about these things
Yeah.
while we're having these conversations that are being recorded and shared. And I'm like, cool, that's awesome that you felt like you could do that. And now after the fact, you're like, whoa, I've never talked about that before. That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a testament to you and how you created the safe space, in this conversation. Even if you're not in person, it's still a safe space for them to be vulnerable. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a gift,
Mm,
Madeline. That's a gift. So
thanks.
congratulations that,
Thank you.
you're doing this and telling these extraordinary stories, sharing these, we're just, you and I just out there amplifying diverse voices as they should be.
Yeah.
Um, because it's so important. It will never be a time where we don't need to do that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for even, again, like setting an example with your own platform too, and being that. Because, like I said, it truly was something that I took inspiration from. Because before this, I always thought it had to be something focused on XYZ, or you're teaching people these specific
Yeah.
skills or
No.
information or all of this stuff. And it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, I just want to have conversations with people and teach through
Yes.
stories
That's
and
the best way.
conversation. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. In the tradition of our ancestors, storytelling.
right. Exactly.
That's
Let's go
it.
back to that. Well, thank you, Ritzy, Marisa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
I
having me.
I hope. I mean, like Ritzy. I can still call you that.
Of course. No, yeah, it's still
Okay,
my
good,
name. And
good.
yeah, I put it in there just so they know the full name. And then people are like, what do I call
Yeah,
you? Marisa or Ritzy. And I was like, what, what are you drawn to?
yeah, yeah.
And it depends on how I'm introduced, and stuff. But it's funny, like, when I was last year in December, I was at the Capitol in DC, and I think I was introduced as Ritzy. I was just like, all right, all right.
Nice. Yeah,
Like my name was on the screen,
yeah.
but they were like, oh, they know me as Ritzy, and I was like, okay, that's
Ritzy.
cool.
Nice,
Yeah, I was like, all right, in the Capitol building, cool. Our official building
nice.
business, cool.
Love it. Love it. Um, well, yeah, thank you for being here, and thank you for being, so willing to have this conversation and come on and chat just about anything and just free flow it, because that's what it is about. And thanks for being a part of this season. Again, I'm specifically highlighting Latina voices this season because of Hispanic Heritage Month, and we haven't even gone into that at all. I feel like we could have a whole other conversation about those words specifically.
Right, right.
Um, but we're not going to do that right now.
No, no.
We're already there. But
But I just
yeah,
want to say this is recorded on Mexican Independence Day, the official
mm-hmm,
day. So que viva
it
Mexico,
is.
cabrones, and always and forever.
Always and forever. And you know what? For the first time ever in Mexico's history, a woman did El Grito in Mexico City this year.
Right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whatever politics aside, like that is a historical moment right there.
For reals. For
Mm-hmm.
reals. That we got to see in our lifetime.
I know. Well, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Ritzy,
Okay.
for being here.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all for listening. My name is Madeline Longoria Garcia, and these are our other stories. You can stream this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Antenna Pod, YouTube, and everywhere else and anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. Please, I invite you to subscribe, to comment, chat with me, DM me, find us on all of the social media things, including TikTok. I am on there for the podcast. Thanks for being here, and have a great day.